So, my name is Sian Davies, and I am the mum of Ricardo Thomas. And today I want to talk about the day that Ricardo went missing when he was 9 years old. So the day was relatively normal midweek day. Ricardo had gone to school with his, or he'd been dropped off at school with his sister. And the plan was, as usual on that day, that he would walk to the after school club with his sister, which was normal and they'd done several times before. For me, I was at university that day, so I was actually in South London and we live in North London, so we were on opposite sides of the city. So normally what I would do would be, when I finished uni, I had plenty of time usually to make it to where the after school club is and sit around in a cafe and wait for the children to finish their class or their club. And so I'd often just sit there, drink a coffee and do some reading. But on this day, I was beginning to head home after my classes, and I was sort of trying to catch a train, the overground, where I had to take a couple of trains and change at Stratford. So I think I was kind of nearing Stratford from Lewisham to change trains. And then I got a phone call from Maggie, who she's the lady that runs the centre, the arts club that they were going to, and told me that Jasmine had turned up without Ricardo and that they were concerned for his whereabouts. They'd somehow got split up, and at this point I was just distraught. The feeling was essentially disbelief, like I couldn't understand how it had happened. I think I'd asked the question and I'd been told that they had, had an argument or had not been listening to each other and ended up getting split up. And then my first thought was to, first of all, get home as fast as I could, and the other one was to sort of contact as many people that I could that were in the area at the time or in North London, so that I could get them mobilised and out looking for Ricardo. So I set about phoning my sister, her partner, my mum, Ricardo and Jasmine's dad, just trying to find out whoever, even the neighbours. I phoned everybody I could to try and find out who was around to go out looking for him or to be at home so that he could be there, because I knew I couldn't make it home quickly. And then I needed to try and get home myself. So I remember being at Stratford station and looking at the train times, and there was, I remember there being some sort of delay with the overground. So I thought the quickest way might be to go back outside and get a taxi, but I was obviously sobbing and distraught, like I was crying, tears streaming down my face, and I went to the taxi drivers that were all lined up outside the station, and loads of them just wouldn't take me because I was obviously looked hysterical. And I think none of them would take me, so I went back on the train. I remember just really, I guess your mind just goes to the worst case scenario. I guess I was imagining that somebody had seen my little beautiful son and seen how vulnerable he was on the streets on his own and managed to coax him away or steal him. I guess the worst case scenario is that somebody wanted to harm him. And I just couldn't, that's what your imagination just goes to. I didn't think for a minute that, you know, he'd be sensible enough to walk home. I mean, well, I did think that, but, you know, I sent loads of people home looking for him and out looking for him, so I was hoping that he was walking the streets and going somewhere that he knew. But I guess the longer it went on, I just got more and more distraught, and the train couldn't move fast enough. I just remember being on the phone to as many people as I could. I think it was not long before I reached home that I got a phone call from their dad, or from Maggie at WAC, to let me know that he'd been found and he turned up at WAC and he was safe. And just the sense of relief was just amazing. I mean, all your worries just fly away at that point, and you know that he's all right. And that's kind of, there was a massive sense of relief. And then I guess that's when the kind of, you know, the feelings about the anger or disappointment there was about, you know, how my daughter and my son had managed to get split up and not been really responsible at that point. You know, like, you'd done as much preparation and wanted them to have this opportunity to go to WAC together, and you trusted them, and then I just kind of felt that all my trust was gone and that I couldn't rely on them. And I guess I was really angry with Jasmine for not being responsible and for letting him go. But yeah, it's just a really miserable, horrible feeling. But then mixed with relief, I guess when the relief sets in, that's when you allow yourself to feel the anger. Because before that, I was just sobbing and distraught. So anyway, I'd reached home. I knew that he was safe, and I was just waiting for them to come back. I was waiting for their dad to drive them home after this incident. And then I was sitting on my bed, which was the larger room at the time, which is now a front room, because we had my sister living with me, so the space was limited. But so I was sitting on my bed waiting for them to come home, and he just sort of ran in and ran into my arms. My little boy was safe, and I just didn't ever want to let him go again or out of my sight. Yeah, never wanted to let him go out of my sight again. But yeah, an overwhelming sense of relief. But changed how I thought about things after that. You're just extra careful and probably a bit overprotective since that time. But very, very grateful that it didn't end up in the way that I had been imagining it was going to be, in those really dark moments.